So a little easier text this time, I think, than last week. Easy to read anyway. So anyone familiar with Meister Eckhart before? No, not so much. I heard the name, maybe. Yeah. So did it speak to you, this text? Well, not so much. Anyone who liked it? Yeah. Elke, why?
I remember last year in the year program, we did an exercise about values. And with the help of Oscar, I discovered that my value is detachment, actually. So it's something I try to practice. It's not easy, so that's why I like this text. It resonates, yeah.
Yeah. So what are the benefits you see with detachment? So why do you practice it?
I think one of the main benefits is the mental space and the freedom it creates if you're not overwhelmed or blown away with feelings or emotions or thoughts. It leaves a lot of data for other stuff.
And do you manage to do it?
There's still some practice to be done, but yeah, sometimes.
So what is the hardest thing to detach from, if you want to share it?
I think the hardest to detach from is let me look for a translation. Is this sudden feeling of outrage when something, in my opinion, is happening that is unjust.
So why
it's easy to be swept away by your
so why the rage?
reflexive.
Is it something personal, or is it just the unjustness of the world that enrages you?
Well, rage is not really my preferred emotion, so I think it's in case it's where I think something unjust is happening. It's in those cases that I find it hard to detach from.
Yeah, but do you take it personal, or it's more altruistic towards the world?
Both, but mostly personal, I think.
Yes.
It's harder to detach in those cases.
But even when it's not directed to you, these unjust actions, you still get outraged?
Yes.
When you watch TV, okay. You still take it personal.
Yes, or I had a thing with a friend last week, and something in my eyes unjust happened to her, and then I'm probably more upset than she is. So there's some
But do
detachment
you
to be
know why?
practiced.
Why do you take it personal when it's not, when you are not the afflicted one? Thought about it?
Yes, I thought about it. In this case, it was someone I deeply care about, and she was harmed in a way that I thought was so wrong. So I think it's probably because I care about a person. If I don't care about a person, it's much easier to not get taken away by it.
So it's mainly when it's close to home.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. All right. The way you like it.
Yes. Yes. It spoke to me. I liked it.
Okay. Good. So anyone else? Or maybe someone who didn't like it? No. Sven, what about you? I think you liked it.
Yeah, I liked it.
But why?
Similarly, the sort of value of detachment is something that I also think is a useful tool, a useful approach to life. Um, Although I think my tendency is very much the opposite, to be quite attached to feelings and emotions and sensations.
Uh,
But as Erka said, I think there is a freedom that you can get. Um, I found a very useful freedom in switching to another sort of paradigm, that more detached paradigm.
so how does it manifest itself, your attachment?
Mostly a big area where I see it is just my attachment to physically feeling physical sort of positive sensations in my body. Not feeling energetic, feeling sated, not hungry or something. I'm very attached to those physical. So if I lack energy, then my whole mood comes down. If I feel hungry, then I become obsessed about finding food. So I feel like my my reaction there is quite extreme, and
Mm.
it then often leads me to make decisions that are extreme and not as useful. If I was more detached from those, I could have patience and then make a better decision.
So it's physical bodily
Yeah,
reactions.
yeah.
Yes.
Um,
So apart from that, attachment is not a big problem.
No, it's also mental, to ideas, to hopes, and I attach to a certain view of myself that
Mm.
I'd like to, you know, maintain this view of my life and how it should be
So
and who I am.
you're attached to illusions.
Yeah, I'm attached to this sort of image of myself that I'd like to
But why do
uh,
you want to get rid of your
maintain.
illusions?
Um, because I think ultimately those illusions they'll disappoint. I see it, as soon as a little it's such a fragile thing, a little thing can happen and that illusion is just burst. And to me, that then you are in a very vulnerable state. Your happiness or your contentment, your ability to survive is jeopardized because you're so vulnerable. Anything can topple you over.
That's because your illusions are weak.
Yeah, maybe I need different
You
illusions.
need stronger illusions. You remember when we read Emily de Châtelet,
Yes,
what she said about illusions?
yes. She thought there were good things. Um,
Where they make you happy.
yes.
That's what she's saying. You should have more illusions. And if you get rid of them, you can get new ones.
Mm.
And even Ibsen, the Norwegian playwright, he said, if you take away the life lie from a man, it will make him miserable,
Yeah.
unhappy. But do you think getting rid of your illusions will it make you happy, or what will happen?
I think, I don't know about happy in the sort of common sense of, being joyful, smiling, but I think it would lead to a deeper kind of more sustainable contentment,
Mm.
something that is, yeah, lasts longer, is less dependent on outside things going well or not, and is sort of almost always there.
Yeah. So this contentment, it doesn't sound very exciting.
Yeah, no, I don't think it is. But then I also, yeah, so I don't think it is, but at the same time, I think it's like eating nourishing food versus eating, a lovely ice cream. The ice cream, it's exciting. It's the sugar makes your mind go crazy, but it's short-lived, whereas nourishing food might not be that exciting, might not give you an immediate boost, but ultimately it's better for you. You live longer. You have a more sustainable good feeling in your body.
Yeah. But the contentment, what does it give you as opposed to the illusions?
I think you are, I also think that's where you are closer to some sort of absolute reality. I think you are closer to, maybe in the words of Eckhart, you know, God, you can unite with God more. You're freer to let God come inside you. And I mean, I think that is maybe a type of excitement and happiness that is much better than the sort of mundane excitements that we talk about.
So that's your goal, to reach absolute reality and connection with God.
Yes. Yeah.
Right. Andrea, I sure resonates with you. Yes.
Why aim for anything less?
Why aim for anything less? Well, I don't know. Go big. Yeah. Right. Good. Anyone else who wants to share their ambitions? Yeah. Okay. Or yeah, Andrea.
Actually, the exchange you just had with Sven make me think, and I was asking two questions, and one is it possible to be attached to detachment?
What do you think? Is it possible?
I think so. I think Sven is an example.
Yeah.
Yes.
Explain. How does it work?
In a way, when you are not able, in a way, to engage and to exist, and because you are entrapped in your own detachment from the world. So the detachment is not a choice, but it's a condemn, a prison, in a way. So in a way, in that case, I think there is attachment to the detachment.
Yeah. It's like the Buddhists say, you shall forget yourself. But when you try to forget yourself, you cannot forget yourself. The more you try to forget yourself, the more you're stuck in yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what's the solution? What should Sven do?
Should practice attachment more.
And how will practice attachment more make him less attached to detachment?
Because attachment implies detachment from detachment.
Yeah. But then he will become attached to his bodily functions again and his emotions.
Yes.
And he will be unhappy.
But in that case, it could be more happy because once you attach, you can practice detachment, which is good. So in a way, I think is flexibility is the key here, like to not to be stuck in one dimension or in one paradigm, but to play with them.
So not to go for absolute connection with the reality and God.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
Yeah, it sounds a bit yeah, attaching. But you had another question.
Oh yeah. The other question is related to the first one, by the way. Is when detachment means freedom and when detachment means escape. Yeah.
What? Yes. Can you explain the difference in this context?
in a way, when you are not able to attach to something, you're not free, and you're a prisoner in your own escape from reality and from yourself or life. So in that case, more escape than freedom. But if you can choose, if you are able to attach and detach as well, your detachment, I think, is more freedom than escape.
Yeah. You're complicating things a bit.
Yeah.
Or you think it's obvious? Let's see who gets Andreas' idea. You can explain it to me. Pierre. Go ahead. What is he saying?
I think because you have the choice to detach yourself or not, then it's freedom to detach yourself because it's a choose. And if you can't choose, that means that you are escape in the escape mood. Is what I understand.
So is the freedom and the escape the same thing here? They're different things.
Again, please. Yeah.
Is the freedom and the escape same thing here, or it's different things?
Is difference because in in freedom there is the choose.
Mm-hmm.
And not in the escape. You escape because you can't do otherwise. You can't do attach. So it's an escape. You have no choose. Is what I understand.
You cannot choose to escape. It will happen necessarily after you're attached.
Yeah.
Okay, so Andrea, was this your idea?
Yes, it is.
Your question was if it's the same thing or different things.
The same thing.
So your question, I don't remember what your question was.
When detachment means freedom and when it means escape.
Mm-hmm. So then what's the answer to the question? Did Pierre give it? No.
When it's a choice, is freedom. When there is no choice, is an escape. You're stuck in the escape. Yeah.
Yeah. And can you give an example? When is detachment not a choice?
For example, when you are afraid to engage yourself in something, you are detached, but it's because you don't have the courage to do something, to choose. In a way, you're escaping choosing. You're choosing not to choose, in a way.
You think this kind of detachment is what Eckhart is talking about?
I don't know. I think it could be connected, but I think it could be.
Yeah. Well, you say you don't have the courage to choose. Yeah.
Yes.
Do you think the detached person that Eckhart's talking about would be someone who is afraid to make a choice? It doesn't seem to fit so well.
No, not with the text I read. No.
So this is what I meant by maybe you're complicating things a bit. So you have an idea and you try to stretch it and you try to make it work, but then it becomes a bit far-fetched.
Yeah, actually, I was trying to problematize the Eckhart ideas through the Sven example, let's say.
Yeah.
It was interesting. Yeah, that in a way that behind that question there is a observation, which is that we could be attached to detachment as well. So that was the observation. Yeah.
Yeah. But then why? How come you talk about freedom and escape and not prison, for instance?
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. I could mention prison. In a way, escape is a prison. It could be a prison. So I don't know why I preferred escape. Maybe I project something.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, both escape and freedom sounds rather liberating.
I don't think escape is liberating. I think freedom is liberating.
I don't think escape is liberating. When you escape from a severe condition, that's not liberating. But what is it?
When you escape from your fears, it's not liberating. The fears grow up and become bigger.
It's not liberating to escape from your fears.
Exactly. So it's a reason. Yeah.
Why not?
Because you don't solve them. You make yourself weaker than your fears. And so
what would be the better solution then? The liberating solution?
To face fears?
Face the fears.
Yeah. It doesn't mean that you have to overcome fears, but when you face fears, I think they become weaker and smaller. Once you escape, they become stronger and bigger.
Yes. Okay. So in general, escaping is a confirmation of your own weakness in front of the thing you are trying to escape.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. Fine. Yeah. And you're saying that Sven here is trying to escape attachment, but by trying to escape it, he's actually attaching himself to it.
Yeah, that was my original hypothesis. Yes.
Okay. Yes. So do you recognize it, Sven? Is this what is happening?
Yeah, sure. I think that's the sort of trick of it, is that everything can become an attachment. It's not the thing, it's the approach to the thing. The thing, your way out, the thing you take as the way out or the way of detaching can itself just lead you back to the same problem. Which is why it sort of requires constant vigilance, constant self-critical analysis of the action. Is it truly detaching, or is it just attaching to something else?
But just by saying, is it truly detaching, you reveal how attached you are to detaching.
Yeah.
So that's why Eckhart, not here, but somewhere else, talks about detachment from detachment. It is, I think, Andrea's idea here.
Matthias?
Yes.
Can you maybe put that excerpt where he speaks about detachment from detachment? Can you put it also in the drive? Is it possible?
Yeah, I'll try. I don't have it now, but
yeah, but later would be interesting, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you see the issue, Sven. You identified it. Yes. Okay, good. So Anna, a comment?
Yes, just about the detachment of detachment. I think there is the last line of the text you gave us.
Mm.
Not the last, just before the last mentions this when he says, but a detached hurt desires nothing at all, nor has it anything it wants to get rid of.
Okay. So how is that detachment from detachment?
Well, if you want to be detached, since there is a will, you're not detached. So true detachment is when you're able to detach yourself for this will of being detached.
Yeah. And yes, indeed, it almost says it. It doesn't use the expression detachment or detachment, but yes.
Yeah.
Nor has it anything it wants to get rid of. So that's it. Yes, sounds rather contradictory, which would be a detachment of detachment. Because to detach is to get rid of something, yeah?
Yeah.
But the detached thought has nothing it wants to get rid of.
Yeah.
So how would that work? Why is there nothing the detached thought wants to get rid of?
Can you repeat the question?
Why is there nothing the detached thought wants to get rid of? You know?
I'm not sure I understand. You say why is
Yeah. The detached thought does not want to get rid of anything.
yeah.
Why?
Because he wants to suppress any will.
But if he wants to suppress any will, then there is an attachment, the wish to suppress his own will. Yeah. And if he wants to suppress his will, it means that it's not there yet.
Yes.
Do you have an idea or not right now?
No, I'm thinking on it, but yeah.
So anyone else? Let's try it. Yeah. Sven?
Yeah, earlier in the piece, in the last paragraph of the first page, he explains what detachment is. He says, you should know that true, second sentence, last paragraph, you should know that true detachment is nothing else but a mind that stands unmoved by all accidents of joy or sorrow, honor, shame, or disgrace, as a mountain of lead stands unmoved by a breath of wind.
No.
So I think that's why it doesn't want to get rid of anything, because these things cause it to be happy or sad, or and it is unmoved by these feelings. It's not that it doesn't feel the feelings; it feels the joy or sorrow, but it is unmoved by them, and so it wouldn't want to get rid of the trigger of joy or sorrow. It doesn't need to get rid of it because it is not affected by those feelings. It doesn't lose its poise.
So the detached person, you're saying, is not removed from everything. So
No,
what you're explaining, it doesn't mean that you should get rid of everything.
yes, it's
Something else.
no, it's not feeling things or not engaging with things. You feel them, but your mind somehow is still. It's that's a difficult thing to understand, I think, how you can feel something but yet not be moved by it. It doesn't, you can feel the good feeling, but it doesn't cause you to want more. You can feel the bad feeling, but it doesn't cause you to want to push it away. You just feel it.
Yes.
That's the detachment.
What does it mean to stand unmoved?
Yeah, to not desire more if it's a positive thing, or to not want to push away if it's a negative thing. That's to be unmoved.
Yes. Okay. So you still have it, but you're not affected by it. Right.
Yes.
And
Not
do you think
reacting to it.
do you think this could be an example of detachment from detachment?
Yes. Yeah, because that the word detachment has sort of, it can mean wanting, it can mean that on that level of wanting to detach, in which case it's not really detachment, it's still attachment, but it's detaching from the very desire for something.
Yeah. Yeah. And then can we connect it to the sentence Anna pointed out, that the detached heart desires nothing, nor has it anything it wants to get rid of.
Yes, like I said, the things that it has in its mind might cause pain or sorrow, but because it's not moved by them, it doesn't need to get rid of them.
Yeah. Yes. So what do you think, Anna? Does it make sense?
Yes, makes sense.
Yes.
Yeah, it's just I have a question about what Sven said, but this makes sense, but it raised another question.
Okay, go ahead.
Sven said that, okay, the detached man, he feels things, but he's not, he doesn't, he's not moved by his feelings. But I don't know if it makes sense to feel and not be affected at the same time. Is it possible to have feelings and be detached at the same time?
Yeah.
And in Eckhart text, I have the impression that the detached person has no feelings, because he says that the detached man is said to be dead to the world. Nothing transient can move him. He has no taste for anything earthly. And if we have some feelings, it's because we are moved by what happens on earth. So
Okay, so let's take your first question first.
Yeah.
Does anyone have an idea here about the possibility or not of having feelings but not being moved by them? Can that work? And how can it work? Yeah, okay.
I think it can work. For example, there is this thing happening and you feel an emotion, let's say anger or sadness. Then I think there are more options, but let's take two. One, you let the emotion dictate your reactions, or you rather observe and notice the emotion, but like Sven said, literally not be moved by it. You notice it's there, and 2 minutes later, it's less. So there's the little distance between the emotion and your observing of the emotion.
Okay. What do you think, Anna?
Yes, makes sense. Yeah.
Like they preach in mindfulness.
Mm.
Just notice your emotions and then just accept that they are there, but don't care about them.
Yeah.
Okay, good. But then, where in the text did you find this part you quoted about the man with no emotions?
Okay. So it's the second paragraph, second part, and the second paragraph of the second part. And he says, but the man who stands thus in utter detachment is wrapped into eternity in such a way that nothing transient can move him, and that he is aware of nothing corporeal and is said to be dead to the world, for he has no taste for anything earthly.
Mm-hmm. So you're saying that this shows that the detached man has no feelings?
Yes, I'm not sure if it's possible that such a man has feelings.
So let's see. Anyone has an idea? Does this show a feelingless man, or can it be combined? Andrea, what do you think?
I think it's possible that this man has feelings.
How?
And can be detached anyway, even if feels something. I think it's the same difference between to be apathic and to be detached.
Sorry, between?
Be apathic, you say apathic?
Okay.
Yeah. And detached. So in a way, when you're apathic, you refuse your own emotions, you escape from them. When you detach, like Erika said before, you accept that those emotions and you observe them. You create a distance from your emotions. So you don't you are not your emotion, but you are also out of your emotions. So I think it's the same concept that Eckhart is trying to say in the text when he quotes Saint Paul, and he says, "I live, and yet do not live. Christ lives in me." I think it's this paradox here that can explain that problem.
Yeah. Okay, so he's wrapped into eternity in such a way that nothing transient can move him. And what would be these transient things which cannot move him? Andrea, do you have an idea?
Yeah, I think is the distance that he creates with himself.
Yeah, but these things which cannot move him, what are they? It says nothing transient can move him. So what are these transient things which he is unmoved by?
I think I have a translation problem. What's transient mean?
It's ephemeral. It only lasts for a short while.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. Um, for example, your own desires, or what you want in your life, and problems, for example, the problems that everyone has in his life.
Mm. Yeah. Okay. And that he is aware of nothing corporeal. But then what would he, or what could he be aware of?
Something that transcends the physical.
No. So for instance,
thinking, for example.
Thinking.
Or God. Yes.
Yeah. And then these fleeting emotions, they don't move him. And he isn't aware of anything corporeal. So what Sven is trying to achieve, not being bothered by hunger and such things. So then, can you be said to be dead to the world?
Yeah.
But you could still be alive.
Yeah. I think it is a nice way to say what Plato said in the Phaedon. In order to think, to philosophize, you need to be dead. It doesn't mean that you need to be physically like.
No, it's a bit hard to philosophize when you're physically dead.
Yes.
But
I think it's the same idea here. Yeah.
And no taste for anything earthly. Yes. Okay. So Anna, what about this? You think it can work?
Yes. And I think also that this detached state for man is not an absolute. It can't be every time, all the time. And I think that Eckhart mentioned this difference between God's detachment, which is absolute and eternal, and man's detachment, which is not absolute and eternal.
Where does he mention it?
For example, also in the second paragraph, when he mentions the free mind, he says, when the free mind is quite detached, it constrains God to itself. And if it were able to stand formless and free of all accidentals, it would assume God's proper nature. I think that this form, if it were, means that, well, it's not the case. So it's not an absolute detachment, but still it tends to this same nature of God.
Yeah. Because assuming God's proper nature wouldn't be possible for a man.
Yeah.
And if we continue the next sentence, but God can give that to none but himself.
Yes.
Okay.
And so that's why I think that when I said, okay, my question about can he has feeling the detachment, I think, yes, we can't, it's impossible to get away from that. But it's just that at some moments, maybe, we can reach this kind of detachment that Elke explained, where we take distance from what we feel.
Yeah. But you think it's just in some moments here. But the detachment which you say can take place in some moments, is that some kind of absolute detachment or not?
I don't know. Yeah.
So there's two different ways of seeing it. Either that mainly you're not detached, but you can be in certain moments, and then you have real detachment in those short moments, or you can be detached all the time, but it's not an absolute detachment.
Yes.
Complete detachment from everything, but it is what we explained here.
Yeah.
So which of these do you think Eckhart is rather talking about?
Yes, I think he's rather talking about the second one.
Yes.
Yeah.
But still try to get out of these absolute tendencies, which only makes you want to be God or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Anything else, or happy? Yeah. Okay. So, any other ideas? Someone who was inspired by this? Yes, Matthias.
No, I'm thinking about what we're talking about right now, and the question I have is: are we able to fully detach ourselves?
But what does that mean, to fully detach ourselves?
Well, to be God, according to Eckhart.
Yeah. Well, what do you possible or not possible?
No, that's not possible.
No? So what's your problem?
That the whole text is talking about absolute, but I have to interpret it as relative.
Yeah. But you think the text is talking about absolute detachment?
Yeah.
But the things which Sven and Andrea explained, do you think that is absolute detachment or not absolute?
No, they were talking about not absolute.
And did they find it in the text, or they made it up themselves?
They made it up themselves.
So it's not in the text.
No.
Well, let's see if any one of the accused here wants to defend that they actually found these ideas in the text, because now Matthias saying that you're fantasizing or you're just lying to us. Or maybe anyone else wants to show how this not absolute detachment, but this, if we can call it relative detachment, how it is actually in the text. Anyone wants to show it? Anna, you can show it.
Well, we saw that Eckhart doesn't say that man has the same detachment than God. And so he describes the detachment of God of absolute, but because he doesn't say that it's the same for man, it is implicit that the detachment of man is relative, less absolute than the one of God.
Mm-hmm.
And at a moment he says, okay, he said, for example, Therefore, if a man is to be like God, as far as a creature can have likeness with God, you know, he uses this kind of formulas that shows that, well, it's not exactly the same.
So where do you find this quote?
In the second part, last paragraph, 3, 4, 5, line 5.
Okay, yeah, can you read it again?
Yeah. Therefore, if a man is to be like God, as far as a creature can have likeness with God, this must come from detachment.
So what does this mean?
This means that man can have some similarity with God when he's detached, but still he doesn't become God. There is still a difference, and so it's not absolute.
Yeah. And before, when it says
before the sentence,
no, I'm just the previous part. I'm just looking at it now. The second paragraph here.
Yeah.
See if we can connect it, where it says, when the mind is quite detached, it constrains God to itself. Yeah? And if it were able to stand formless and free of all accidentals, it would assume God's nature. But here you're saying that he's claiming that it doesn't assume God's proper nature, but it can be similar to God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But in the sentence you just quoted, it's the same. You say if it were, but it's not. So there is still this difference between our mind, our free mind, and the detachment of God.
Yes.
When he said, if it were able to stand formless and free of all accidental, but it doesn't mean it's the case.
No. Because then, but God can give that to none but himself.
Yeah. Yes.
Therefore, God can do no more for the detached man than to give himself to it. Yes. Yes, okay. Fine. So, Matisse, what do you think? Does it show that? No, Eckhart doesn't say that the detached man becomes God.
I think we're talking about a different issue now.
Yeah.
We were talking about relative versus absolute detachment.
Yeah, but the absolute detachment would be to become God. So that's your idea?
No, my idea was different. My idea was if we, like human beings, are able to reach, let's say, absolute detachment.
Yeah.
And now we were talking about detachment as a condition to be like God. So that's a different issue.
But this absolute detachment, what is it?
It's the reverse of not, or letting go of our desire to attach.
Yeah.
And my question was, are we able to letting go of our desire to attach?
But isn't that what we have shown, that we can let go of these desires?
How did we show? How have we shown that?
Who stands unmoved by feelings, who stands unmoved by any accidentals.
Yeah, and then we inserted the time, issue of time, like it's temporal. And when it's temporal, the detachment, then it's called relative attachment, I suppose, relative detachment. And absolute detachment would be like reaching nirvana, and that's a state of being for eternity. right?
Mm.
So what we talked about was we can reach detachment, but only for a while. Is that true? Have we shown that now?
No. Now, I think we concluded that we can have a kind of detachment constantly, which is not an absolute detachment, rather than from time to time reaching an absolute detachment.
Then I have a problem with the word constantly that you use. I don't think it's in the text that we are able to detach ourselves on a continuum, like constantly, on a continuous mind.
Do you see in the text any evidence that it's just temporary?
No.
No.
No, that's why I think he intends to show that it's possible to reach this kind of absolute detachment. But
let's not confuse things. If we're talking about continuous and just temporal, is he showing either of these? Is he saying that the detachment should be either continuous or it should just happen from time to time?
I think he intends to show that it's continuous.
It's continuous, yes. Okay. So then, what's the problem?
Well, I think I missed an argument.
You think it can be continuous? Or you think, no, it cannot?
Me personally, I don't think. No.
No?
No, it's not possible to reach this state of being continuously, the detached state of being.
But is it possible that Eckhart is talking about an ideal that we should strive for?
Sure, it's about striving, yes.
Yes. So he's not talking about, yes, something that each and every one of us could reach if we just put a little bit of effort into it, but some ideal which is rather unattainable, but therefore there's no reason not to try to reach it.
True, yeah.
So you're okay with that idea?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. We still have a problem with the text or a question about it.
Well, not at this moment, maybe later.
Yeah. Okay, we'll see later.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think Elke had her hand raised.
Yeah. So, but then she. No.
Yeah. Okay.
We'll see.
That's not my
She can
task.
raise her hand if she wants to speak now. So anyone who wants to comment on this, who has an insight, an idea. Yeah, okay, go ahead.
So just in addition to the discussion about nuance versus absolute, I don't think he's speaking of the absolute. In fact, I think he makes different remarks which tells us that he himself thinks that detachment is a degree.
Yeah.
For example, he speaks about God works according as he finds us ready. And then he speaks about different kinds of bread in an oven. So he points out that there are actually different degrees of being detached.
Yeah.
I don't see him striving for an absolute at all, actually. An ideal, yes, but not absolute.
No, not absolute. Because is it reasonable to say that the absolute detachment would make us gods? That becoming absolutely detached would be like being God?
Yes, and also the way he describes it, I think, implies it's not possible. You cannot fully detach from your earthly needs. You have to eat, you have to go to the toilet once in a while. So total detachment would be we're dead, and then, you know, God maybe, but yeah.
Yeah. But to be detached to a degree, constantly, as a kind of ideal.
Well, he speaks, especially in the second page, he speaks a lot about to the highest peak.
Yeah.
So there is an ideal to strive for, but we're human. So we might sometimes reach the highest and then we fall back because we're human, and then we strive for it again and then we fall back.
Mm-hmm. Let's just see what it says. Now, in whatever part there is this or that, there may be something in this or that which God cannot bring to the highest peak. Yes, okay, so in each and every one of us, there is something which God cannot bring to the highest peak. Yes, so to reach this absolute detachment seems rather impossible.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. Good. So Pierre, did you raise your hand as well?
Yeah, it's just a comment about reaching God in a way with the the second part and second paragraph at the beginning. The master called Avinika declares that the mind of him who stands detached is of such nobility that whatever he sees is true. So someone detached is completely in the truth mind, and whatever he desires he obtains, and whatever he commands must be obeyed. So he's God. He's completely God. So if you are detached, you are God. It's just, yeah, the idea that you have not just contemplate things with emptiness, but also you have some power.
Yeah. So this thing that Avicenna talks about would be absolute detachment then, which would make you God.
Yes, so it's an ideal, yeah.
But it's funny that the detached God here still desires something. Whatever he desires, he obtains.
Yeah.
Yes. You can be detached and still have desires, as long as you're not attached to your desires.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, so there was something else you wanted to say about this? Or?
No, it's just yeah, things I want to say. Yeah.
Okay, good. So yes, Andrea, do you want to comment?
Yes, what Matis said before made me think about another idea, which is in Plato, which is in the, how is it called in English, the myth of winged chariot, the horses, the white and the black one. And I think that the idea is that we have a divine part in ourselves, which is the reason. And when we philosophize, we in a way we reach that level, that dimension, the word idea, or the word of the ideas. Or in a way we become uniform to God, just like Eckhart says at the end of the text, when he says about the detached art, doesn't have to pray about anything because is uniform with God, he says. And I think it's something like that. We enter in that dimension, but it doesn't mean that we have to stay all the time there.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so you're saying it's a back and forth from this detachment.
Yes. For example, we cannot think all the time. We need to
Okay,
stay.
you're saying in reality there is this back and forth. We cannot stay in detachment all the time.
Yes, because we are divine. We are both divine and animals.
Yeah.
So,
But do you think that Eckhart, his ideal is to be detached all the time? Or he's talking about this, we should be it for a little while and then go back.
yeah, maybe it's all the time. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's different ideas.
Yeah, that would still be the ideal if it's not humanly possible.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, good. There's a problem with being human. You never reach the absolute. Okay, good. So any other comments about this? No? So let's go to your writing in the doc. Now, is there anyone who would like to have his or her text looked at? Let's see if we can find something nice. Some problems if we're lucky or something else. No volunteers. Either because you think your text is already perfect, so there's nothing to find, or you don't want to expose your terrible little mistakes. Okay, so Ian, we haven't heard from you today, so I'm sorry. Let's look at your writing. But I'll let you choose. Shall we look at answer 1 or answer 2?
Yeah, let's look at answer 2.
Answer 2. So the question is, can the detachment Eckhart describes have a function outside of a religious context? Explain. So can you read your number 2?
Yes, detachment can have a function outside religious context. It can help a person be free from psychological damage caused by accidents of life and be open towards new opportunities, feelings, situations. Detachment can also serve a creative purpose as it makes one more flexible towards points of view different from her own.
Okay.
So 2 functions, I see.
Yeah. All right. So I'll let you look at it and see if you find something interesting. It can be a problem that you find, or it can be maybe you think there is something is missing that should be added. Maybe you think something is not clear, it should be explained. Or maybe you think, no, there's nothing we can add to it to make it better. So you can explain, why is this so good? Try to find something that you can comment on. But the question is for everyone. So I'll let you sit back for a minute, Ian, just wait for the criticism. So the others, look at it and see what you can find. Yeah, Andrea, you found something?
Yeah, I think Ian could add the explanation on how it works. I mean,
Okay. So what works?
He offered two ideas.
Mm.
The first one is that detachment can provide freedom from psychological damage.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting, but I don't see the explanation how it works, the connection.
Mm.
And
You think it's needed?
Yes.
Yes. Because it's not obvious without the explanation.
Yes. I mean, I could think more ways. So it would be interesting to know how it works for him.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. And it's the same with the second idea?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. So Ian, you got his point. You understood his criticism.
Yes, I think so.
You think you understood it, or you're sure you understood it? You don't seem so sure.
Yeah, maybe.
What did you understand from what?
Yes,
can you tell me?
that there is no, let's say, relationship between. I mean, first, the connection between psychological damage and accidents of life, how they are caused.
Let's see, Andrea, was this your idea?
No.
No. Can you repeat it? What you want him to do?
Yes. I think it needed an explanation to show how the detachment can provide freedom from psychological damage. It's not there. I think maybe it's implicit. Could be nice to make it explicit.
Yeah. So is it clearer, Ian?
Yes, I think so. Yeah, it is clear.
Okay, so just tell me, what does he want you to do?
Yeah, to explain more how detachment offers protection from psychological damage. Because here it's implied that if one is attached, then therefore it has it's moved, or it suffers psychological damage from accidents of life.
Yeah, well, that's not implied. That's what you're writing.
Yeah, it's implied in my text.
Well, no, it's explicitly what you say, right? Detachment cannot from psychological damage.
Exactly, and the opposite. It's implied that if attachment implies suffering, psychological damage.
But what Andrea wants is an explanation for how detachment can free you from psychological damage.
Okay, let me try.
No?
that a detached person takes things as they come, while an attached person attaches or try to keep things, accidental things, and if something good is gone, it suffers. And if something bad comes, it also suffers.
Mm-hmm. But the detached person who takes things as they come, how will he react in this situation?
I don't think he will suffer. Suffer is too of a strong word, or
No,
intense
will,
pain.
he will not suffer, but why?
He'll feel a discomfort, I think. Like a light, very light suffering, which will not be psychological damage.
But why?
Because it keeps, I think it's because it sees accidental things as accidental, while the attached person confuses with necessary things.
Okay.
For example, that something good happened, it should continue happening.
But when you see something accidental as accidental, what do you see it as? Why does it make it not so severe when you see it as accidental?
Because you understand that it could go away at any moment, that it's not there forever, and it should not be there forever.
Okay.
While the opposite, the attachment, it's confusing that a thing that is accidental, you think it should be there, or the opposite, it should not be there. And when it's the thing happens in opposite with our own conceptions, it creates suffering.
Yeah. So when you can see bad things as accidental, it's easy to let go of them.
Yes, because you are prepared that bad things will come, but they also go.
Yeah. And is it also good to see good things as accidental and not necessary?
Yes.
Why?
Because they also, if they're external, they also are accidental. They're not, they can come and go at any moment.
Yeah.
So if I see them as accidental, I will not suffer in case they're not there anymore.
Yes. And you will not suffer because they were not yours to begin with.
Yes, yes.
Right, because they're not necessary, they're not essential to
you. Yes, but I'm thinking, if are there good things that are not accidental?
Yeah, well,
that are necessary.
Here it is about if you can see them as accidental.
I'm sorry, once again.
Here it is if you can see them as accidental. That's the question, or that's the point here. If you can see the good things and take them as accidental.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
It's just what I'm wondering is that is it possible that there are good things which are necessary, which should happen, and we can misconfuse them as accidental?
I don't know. But do you think there is a point of seeing them as accidental, even if they are necessary?
Mm.
Do you think your life is necessary?
My life is um, I think hmm. Um, mm, yeah, I'm not sure. I'm tempted to say yes.
You're tempted to say yes. Yeah. Okay. Is it possible to see your life as accidental? It just happened. It didn't have to happen. It can go away at any moment. Can you
Okay.
view it like that?
Yes, yes.
Okay. And if you view it like that, it just happened for no reason. I just happened to be born, and
Mm.
whenever I could die, that's just the way the world is.
Oh, okay.
That would be a way of accepting the shortness of life.
Ah, yes, there is a point in the seeing life as accidental.
Yeah.
You don't, yeah, you
So
don't
never
suffer
mind
from,
if your life is necessary or not. I don't know. Maybe. Depends on your personal belief, but if you can see it as accidental, it could make it less severe if something happens to it.
yes, and it could also make me free from fear of losing my life.
Indeed, yes. Because it's not your life to begin with.
Exactly, and it's yeah. And because it's not mine, it's not um, let's say under my control, under my full control.
Yes, indeed. Yeah. So this explanation, you think it improves? It would improve your text?
Yes, but it's a little long. It's
Yeah,
quite a long
we
explanation.
we don't have to write everything we said now, but the short synthesis of it. You think that would help?
Yeah, should I try?
Yeah, try it. See if you can make it in one sentence.
But I only gave the answer to the first function.
Yeah.
Maybe as an equivalent, it could be the same for second. I don't know, but let's try.
You start with a because.
Let me see. Okay. That's that's the shortest that I could make.
Yeah. So if the attached person expects good thing to keep existing, then what does the detached person do?
It expects nothing.
Expects nothing, yes. Can you add it? Yeah. Okay. So Andrea, you think it works?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Good. So anyone who wants to add something to this or comment on this? Yeah, Anna?
I very much your question. Is your life necessary?
Mm.
And because so we are not used to ask ourselves this question, and it's funny to see that we don't agree on the answer is not obvious, because for me it was obvious that yes, it's accidental, my life is accidental, and I was surprised to see that for someone, well, it's not that obvious that it's accidental. So it was nice to discover this different thinking.
Can you understand how you could think that your life is necessary?
I think if I'm a believer, maybe, and I think that, well, God decide about all lives, therefore my life is necessary.
Yeah. And is it possible, even if you're not a believer, to think that your life is necessary or not?
I have a hard time to find a reasoning for that.
Yeah. Let's see, does anyone have an idea? Yeah, Sven?
Yeah, I think from sort of a determinist paradigm, you could see that your life is necessary, because all the preconditions for your life could not have led to anything else but your life. You know, the flower, it's a necessary result of the plant growing. And if I see myself as a flower which is growing on top of everything else that happened before, then I am necessary.
Mm. So because of the conditions which made you come into existence were there, and you necessarily had to be born. Yeah. Okay. What do you think, Anna, of this deterministic worldview? If you're a determinist, can it work?
I'm not sure, because it's not because I mean, there is still some, how we call that, chance, hazard.
In
Even
in a deterministic world?
well, you can say, of course, I'm here because there was my grandfathers and etc. They met, etc. So yes, I can trace the list of events that led to my life, but still there is some contingency
Mm-hmm.
in the happening. it was not meant since the beginning to be that way.
No, indeed, there is no meaning behind it.
No.
It's just that.
No, it's not only a meaning. It was not necessary to happen. Yes, it happened, and yes, now I can see the line of events and until my life today. But still, this list of happenings, of events, was not necessary from the beginning.
So do you make a difference between what is inevitable and what is necessary? Are you okay to say that if it's a deterministic world, then it is inevitable? It must happen.
Okay, for example, if it's a destiny, a fate.
No, not destiny. There's no higher power. There's no destiny nor meaning behind it. But it's inevitable that it happens because something else happened, because of cause and effect. Something else happened before, which meant that only this could happen. And something happened before that, which meant that only this could happen.
Yeah.
For instance, I drop a glass and it falls to the floor.
Yeah.
It's inevitable because I drop it and there is nothing which is stopping it. And because there is gravity, it will fall to the floor. It's inevitable, it will fall to the floor.
Yeah.
Is it also necessary that it falls to the floor?
Yes, in this case, yes, because it's a law of physics. But it's not the case for a human life.
So what's the difference?
Well, the difference will be that it's not because there are some inevitable causes that cause my life that these causes were necessary. They could have not happened. But if you drop an object, it's necessary that it will always fall. There is not the option that no, it won't fall.
Yes. But in the moment of procreation, where everything was in a certain way, which led to then the gestation of a baby, then if it is inevitable, if these are the exact conditions, is it also necessary that it will happen?
Yes.
Because I don't see the difference between these two examples, this with a baby and this with dropping the glass. So do you think there is a difference?
Yes.
What is the difference?
The difference will be, okay, it's necessary in the procreation, well, there will be necessarily a human being. But for example, the meeting of the parents of the children, aleatory. It's not necessary that these two beings met.
If you're a determinist, yes, it is necessary. Because something happened right before which made them appear in that exact place, in that exact moment.
Yeah.
Because every event is caused by a previous event, which is caused by a previous event.
Yes, okay, I see. But yeah, okay. But still, I think even in a determinist view, we can still find a difference between the determination in human life and in physics, for example. Because it will be possible that these two persons didn't meet in this world, human world, but it would have been impossible that the pen didn't fall in the floor.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. So there is a difference.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see if anyone wants to shed some more light on this. So Pierre, you raised your hand.
Yeah, the example of Anna make me think that in the perspectivism of everything is determined, that exclude any freedom then.
Yeah.
All is already written, no? It's like domino, you know?
Yeah.
Okay, this is my questions, because if it's the case, then all is writing and nothing happens by hazard, or there is no contingence. There is no contingence. There is just one way, it's unilateral.
Ah, yes, indeed.
Okay, yeah.
But you have a problem with this.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yes.
I think there is a little part of other, of
Yeah.
freedom, yeah, also.
Yeah. Yes, so no, determinism is not for you.
No, I don't like it. Yeah.
No. Yeah. Okay, Sven, you raised your hand as well.
Yeah, I don't think there's a difference, the glass breaking and the human life. I think, okay, first thing I will say is that the laws of physics don't stop with, the laws of physics apply to the universe of which we are a part. Any laws, they wouldn't stop somehow where my skin starts or whatever, you know. And then secondly, if you see our human lives and our history as many glasses falling, everything couldn't not happen as a result of the next thing. Every action, everything was a glass falling, and every time the glass had to smash, leading to, I don't know if that's making sense, but if in the determinist paradigm, you know, I am the logical result of everything that has happened since the beginning of time.
Yes. So there is no contingency, no arbitrary.
Yeah, there is no space for, you know, there's those laws of physics, reaction does not stop at some point. It continues in everything.
Yes. But it's just that the human being is a little more complex than a pen dropping to the floor. But what you're saying is that the human being is a multitude of pens dropping all the time.
Yes, we certainly we're a result of billions of chance of those things dropping, but we're still, you know, according to this paradigm, we're still ultimately determined.
Yeah.
There's no mystery. There's no, because that, to me, that would be a belief in God. Then is to believe then there's some mystical force that comes in between.
But are you a determinist yourself?
I find it difficult not to be, although of course I want to believe in some sort of freedom, and I think that's the paradox, is that in this moment you feel a sense of freedom and you believe that you can make a choice and move, but at the same time, when I do think about the action and reaction, and if I believe in it in one area in physics, how can I not believe it in my life? You know, it must, I don't think these laws stop. So I don't know. I don't think I can make sense of that.
But do you think that in
contradiction,
in any moment there is just one thing that could happen? or there are a number of different things that could happen.
Of course, we can imagine of many different things, but I think there's only one that really can and will happen. I don't know. It's
Yeah, but you know, this just as valid a theory that in any moment there are billions of different things that can happen. Only one thing will happen. In every split second, only one thing will happen. But countless things could happen. And there's even the theory that all of these things do actually happen, but we can only be aware of one of it. So every time reality splits in a number of ways, it creates another world and another world and another world. So there are infinite difference of worlds where in every moment, infinite different things happen all the time. And every time a new world is created.
yeah,
it doesn't mean that only one thing can happen. No, anything can happen, but only one thing will happen.
I think that is basically infinity, and infinity I don't think can be conceived of by our mind, because
No,
our
but do
mind
you
is
think
not infinite.
do you think it can exist?
No, I think it exists, but our mind is one part of that infinity, and it cannot contain everything. I don't think it's possible to really understand that.
No, indeed. But it could still be the case.
There's a good movie about this parallel universe thing. It came out this year, called Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. Recommended.
Okay. To get out of your deterministic worldview. Yes. Okay. Good. So anything else on this? Yes, Anna.
No, just a last thing is just, I think we should clarify the difference between thinking that everything has a cause, which is quite reasonable, and thinking that every cause is necessary and is not contingent. It's two different things.
Yes. Yes, indeed, it is. You can believe in the cause and effect without being a determinist, yes.
Yeah.
And you can also not believe in cause and effect.
Yes.
Either it doesn't exist, yes. That's okay, good. So let's check one more thing before we finish. Anyone who wants to have a look at their work? No? Well, Ian, since it was your work we looked at, why don't you pick the next guy? Take someone and we'll check their work.
Okay, let's take Sven.
Okay, which one? Number 1 and number 2?
Let's also take number 2.
Number 2. Okay. So, Sven, can you read it? Your answer. You read the question first and then the answer.
Can the detachment Eckhart describes have a function outside a religious context? Yes, attachment is distracting and leads to suffering. The desire to get or remove something occupies the mind and prevents it from thinking clearly and noticing connections in its experience of the world. Detachment can open the mind and allow thoughts to flow more freely. Also, a lot of suffering comes from being attached to things. Detachment means we do not rest our happiness on attachment to outside things that will inevitably change and then disappoint us. We are imperturbable. Even when things change, we don't mind as much because we are not attached in the first place.
Okay, so anyone see something interesting here? Matisse, go ahead.
The first sentence is a statement. So attachment is distracting. It needs some clarification.
So it's not clear.
No.
Why attachment is distracting.
No, it can also be exactly the other way around. It can be really, it can help you focus, for example.
Yeah. Okay. So Sven, are we missing such an explanation?
No, my whole first paragraph deals with that first thing, distracting. That is, the whole first paragraph is meant to be the explanation for that.
So can you tell us, or reformulate it briefly, or you just one short sentence, why is attachment distracting?
The desire, attachment is another way of formulating attachment is a desire to have or to get rid of something. And this occupies the mind, takes space, and often prevents from thinking clearly, because you're obsessed with getting or removing that thing. You're attached to the presence or the lack of the presence of that thing.
Can you be attached to something you already have?
Yes.
And then when you're attached to the things you have,
yeah, I guess I didn't add that. So to get or remove or keep,
yeah,
I would add.
are you adding it?
Okay, to get, keep.
Yeah, okay. So Matthias, you think it works? Is it an explanation?
Sorry. Yeah, it's an explanation of his idea, but his idea is not clear to me because attachment is distracting, is missing the object of the distraction. Attachment is distracting from what?
Okay, you want to know what it is distracting us from?
Yeah, it clearly he has an idea that detachment is better than attachment, so it has a ground.
First of all, did he explain how this?
Yeah.
Why it distracts?
Yeah. Yes,
Yeah.
he did.
Yeah. But you want to know what it is distracting us from?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Do you think it's necessary, or do you think it would add to it, make it more complete?
Yeah, I think it's necessary.
Yeah. Because just to say that it's distracting, you say that that's not enough.
True.
Yeah. Why is it not enough?
Because I read it and still I have questions about the statement.
Yeah, but your question is, what is it distracting us from, right?
Yeah.
But why do we need to know what it distracts us from? So my question is just, can it be okay to say that it's distracting, or no? It cannot. We need to know what it is distracting us from.
Yeah, I think it's necessary to know because I can figure an example of an attachment that is it's not distracting. Like the reverse of not distracting is like yeah, concentrating or focusing.
And you're saying that if he provides us with an object,
yeah,
then we will no longer have this idea that attachment can also be focus.
true. Yeah.
Okay, so the object would solve this issue.
Yeah.
Right. So let's check. Sven, do you have such an example? What is attachment distracting us from?
I would say it's distracting from thinking clearly and noticing connections in the experience of the world. In other words, it's distracting from seeing the bigger picture. It's distracting from being really with what is actually happening. I make an example, which often happens in these philosophical discussions, is that you become attached to your idea and immediately you obsess. You just think about your idea, and you come out of the flow of the conversation, of the dialogue. You stop seeing how this dialogue is moving and other people's ideas are interacting with it, and the connections between other people's ideas and your idea. And you become distracted in that sense from actually what's continuing, the reality of what is actually happening outside of your own obsession.
Mm. Okay. As what do you say? Matthias, does it make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah. So it can be okay, what you wrote. Can we accept it?
Well, what he wrote can be accepted, but it has to be in the sentence of the statement.
Well, if we can accept what he wrote, then what's the problem with his writing?
Yeah, okay. I get it. It's an explanation of the first sentence, but if you make it a statement, I would love to have a statement that it's more complete than this one. But that's maybe my.
Okay, but this is the statement, right? Attachment is distracting and leads to suffering. Right, that's the statement. And then we have the function of the distracting, this desire. And what it distracts us from thinking clearly and noticing connections in the experience of the world. So what is missing?
In that explanation, nothing is missing. No.
You just maybe you're attached to.
Yeah, I can let go. I can practice the art of detachment. Yeah.
But do you have a suggestion for how we could improve it?
Well, what Sven said, if you say yes, attachment is distracting from seeing the bigger picture and leads to suffering, then you have a clear statement.
Okay, so it's just the structure of what he wrote. You want to rearrange it a bit.
Well, I would love to, but it's not my statement. So Sven
No, but
he's free to choose. He has a free will, although
he doesn't have a free will. He's a determinist.
I know. I didn't make a sentence. Yeah.
But so your suggestion for improving this would be if you could do it, you would just restructure it a bit, keep the elements, but write it in another way.
No, I would add from seeing the bigger picture.
Okay, from seeing the bigger picture. Can you add it?
It's a question to me, right?
Yeah, add it.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I can. Just wait.
Okay. Now, you're happy?
Very much.
Very much. Okay, good. I'm glad. Then we can finish for today and we can go to bed. That's good. All right. So, any last comments? Anyone wants to add something? Andrea, yes.
One point was visible that, for example, I noticed that Anna was resisting a bit to the deterministic paradigm that Sven offered, and Pierre a bit as well. Mm-hmm. So I thought that is funny because when we speak and we attach to some ideas, and because of that attachment, we resist to the opposite ideas. So since we are in a philosophical reading course, I think we are already practicing the art of detachment, which is not easy, of course. Mm-hmm. I think this is a way to practicing the Eckhart text, Eckhart ideas.
Yes. But you feel it yourself. It's difficult to detach from your ideas. Just switch to the opposite point of view, even in a philosophical discussion.
Yes, when I identify with something, with a feeling or with a belief, yes, it's difficult. When I detach from those stuff, it's easier to do paradigm shifts. Yes.
But the detachment, does it come easy for you?
Yeah. I mean, I think through the practice, it became easier. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Yes. Good. But yes.
Yeah, just one remark. 2 weeks ago, we discussed this text of Avicenna about the floating man. And I had some, this text reminded me as well of the text of the floating man, the text of Eckhart, because he speaks about, God, let's say, and man, and the God is something eternal, celestial, let's say, not in this world, not corporeal. And and now again, we talked about this difference between God, man, eternal, temporal, mind, body. So this division between, the Cartian division is, I saw it again in this text.
Yeah. And he even mentions Avicenna here.
Yeah, true, sure.
Yeah. Yes, indeed. You see the similarity. Yeah. You thought it was interesting to see how they correspond with each other.
Yeah, maybe it was on purpose that you did it.
Actually, no. It was not this connection, no. But sometimes it happens. Sometimes you're lucky.
Okay, thanks then.
It was part of a bigger plan.
It was part of God's bigger plan. No, I was determined to do it. I couldn't have done it otherwise.
Yeah.
Yeah, but isn't it comforting, Sven? Whatever happens, you have no responsibility because you couldn't have done it otherwise. It has to happen. Yeah. Okay. So, anything else? Before we stop? No? Okay. So, thank you for today. And see you next time.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.